Hi everyone and welcome to this week's True Crime live stream. If you're new here, hello, I am FEARSONA, you can call me Sona, and I'm your friendly neighborhood True Crime VTuber, messing up my intro cause why not, as always. I mean, that's no surprise. But thank you so much for tuning in today. Also, thank you so much to John Active for renewing your membership. Wow, it's been 2 months, so you're a gold. You have a gold star, gold heart. Okay. You guys, this is the last day of the week. Wait, let me just move the chat because it's kind of in the way. Sona knows it. How's it going? Yes, congrats to me. I can clearly read. I can't read. Silverjack, I just read. Sona knows it going for some fucking reason. Kitsuya, hello, thank you so much for being a member for the 2nd month. Yeah. Okay, you guys, hi, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here with me and to hear this next story, today's story that I've got for you. And Undead Rabbit said, hello, Sona, you know, this is a case I've not heard of. I'll be hearing the details. It's not a very popular one. Like, I have to say, it's not very well known. I've only recently heard about it through the Netflix TV show, which was like unrelated at first glance because it was about ghost hauntings. But then we kind of I discovered this case, you know, like they discussed this case because they were actually, you know, exploring a house where I guess like the Lawson family worked. Or they were somewhat related to that house, and a lot of shit happened. So then they kind of like explored the case, and I was like, and I just thought it was an interesting murder case, and it's not, you know, it's not unsolved. Well, in a way it isn't, but in a way it also is, because we don't know the reason why the murders happened. So this is what I'm gonna be talking about today. I always have time for a FEARSONA stream. That's the spirit. That's the spirit. Thank you so much, and I'm glad that you think so. I'm glad that you wanna hang out and wanna tune in to my stream to hear about another case. Okay, you guys, this is the last day of the week. I will post the stream schedule for the upcoming week sometime after the stream, and we have a little bit more. You know, like 2 more streams with where I will be finishing up Dead Space. Why am I still like, I don't know. Anytime I say the title of this game, I'm about to say like Death Space instead of Dead Space. But yeah, I want to finish Dead Space this week, and I will have a scary story stream on Patreon. And I will need a little bit more time, so there's not gonna be as many streams this week because I have the 3.0 design debut on Saturday. That's February 4th at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And yeah, it's gonna be a big event. So yeah, I hope to see you guys there. You better show up. You can see it. You can see the announcement at the beginning of the stream in the starting screen. February 4th. 7 p.m. Pacific time. That is Saturday, I think. I don't know. Did I mess it up? Is it Friday? No, it is Saturday. Okay, because I was like, oh god, am I messing up my own schedule? But yeah, wait, Undead Rabbit. Okay, no, that was another message. Sorry. What's up, Angry Mob? Please remember to follow the chat rules. Please behave. Be nice. Don't be an asshole. And yeah, you know, let's be respectful. Dead Space is so awesome. We all need to recharge. Yeah, I need. Honestly, I'm having difficulty with like the last time when I was playing it the first time around. So like, what was it like? Was it on Saturday? Yeah, it was Saturday morning. When I was playing it the first time around, like I think I finished. Oh no, I died. Didn't I die and like I lost a bunch of progress? Oh well. But yeah, like I died in a. Like at this moment where we get to the gravity, like 0 gravity moments, and I'm like, oh yeah, I will go through this tunnel, and I find my way through the tunnel, but then I have to come back, and suddenly I'm like flipped upside down, and I'm like, I have no idea where I am anymore. Like, this map, please. No, I don't know what map is. Okay, who's ready to be traumatized today with another disturbing case? Yes, this one will be very disturbing. The pictures will be definitely disturbing, so I just wanna give you guys a warning. There is quite a bit of violence. There is a description of violence, adult language, and so on and so forth. So, you know, viewers' discretion is advised. If you are very sensitive to gruesome details, to violent, events, I would advise you to not watch this stream, to not listen to this case, because there is a lot of descriptions of very violent events. Okay, so without further ado, let me get right into the case. So, Christmas is generally a festive time of the year when loved ones are gathered and joy is spread. With Christmas being a family-oriented time of the year, it is unexpected for a loved family member to brutally murder their family for no known reason. Sadly, the Lawson family experienced this on Christmas Day in 1929, and that is the story we're going to talk about today. As a side note, I did mention it at the beginning of this stream, but I want to say that the family's tragic end was also explored at a very different angle in the recent ghost hunting series by Netflix called 28 Days Haunted. And I encourage you guys to watch it. It's pretty interesting, it's entertaining, but also that's how I found this case, and there were some different angles that were explored, in the story. Okay, so Charlie Lawson married Fanny Mannering in 1911. Together, they saved up enough money by selling tobacco to purchase a small, rundown farm in 1927 located in Garmenton, North Carolina. The pair had a total of 8 kids, including Arthur, Marie, Carrie, Mabel, James, Raymond, and Mary Lou. Unfortunately, their third-born child, William, contracted an illness and at just 6 years old and passed away. So as you can see in the picture, there's only 7 kids. But yeah, there were, 8 kids. So just before Christmas, Charles Lawson showed particular interest in ensuring that his family had a portrait taken. Which, by the way, wasn't a cheap thing back in the day. So he also ensured that each family member had a completely new set of clothes for this special occasion. Although on the surface, this does not seem very strange. Suspicion was raised because Charles was a working-class farmer who could barely afford new clothes, let alone a portrait to be taken, plus festive clothes like suits, dresses to be bought, and, brand new stuff to be bought, and the family members to wear them, on the picture day. Despite this slight suspicious behavior, Charles's devotion to fatherhood and occasionally coming across as a strict parent basically ensured that no locals were expecting the horrifying crime that would follow soon after. So again, pictures were not a cheap thing back in the day. Plus the clothes, plus the fact that the Lawson family was a working class family, they didn't have money for this. On that day, on the picture day, Charles was very set on taking that portrait picture, having those new clothes, and it was just kind of strange. But then, okay, maybe it's Christmas, maybe it's just the festivities, maybe he's, he was thinking more about family and he just wanted to do something nice for us. Spoiler alert, he did not. So on December 25th, 1929, Charles and Arthur headed out hunting. When the pair ran out of bullets, Charles sent Arthur, so the 16-year-old son, into town to purchase some more. Meanwhile, the oldest child, Marie, had planned to bake a cake in preparation for the festivities, while her sisters Carrie and Mabel had planned to visit relatives who lived close by, basically walking distance. Sadly, Carrie and Mabel never made it to their destination because Charles, who knew about the girls' the plan, had situated himself by their tobacco farm, or, well, sorry, not farm, barn, where he was waiting with a 12-gauge shotgun and some ammunition that he had saved without letting Arthur know. So once the girls were inside, he shot them. As if this was not disturbing enough, he also beat them using the shotgun to ensure that they were dead. So he wasn't done after, you know, just 1 or 2 shots. He was just like, okay, I have to make sure that they are dead. So I'm just gonna beat them with the weapon. Charles then proceeded to drag each of the girls' bodies inside the tobacco barn, so they were out of sight and no one could see them, no one could see that maybe they are still alive or what was going down. Then Charles's disturbing crimes did not end. Next, he returned to the family home where he found his wife peacefully sitting on the porch, and Charles then shot and killed her within seconds. So next one was Marie, 17-year-old Marie, who had witnessed her mother being shot, and she was in obvious distress. It didn't take long for her father to find and shoot her next. Then James and Raymond, who were only 4 and 2 years old at the time, had heard the commotion, including the screams from Marie and from their mother and the gunshots, and they were trying to hide inside of the house. Disgustingly, Charles hunted the 2 boys and also murdered them, showing no mercy. And at the end, Charles headed towards his 4-month-old daughter, Mary Lou. 4-month-old baby! However, instead of shooting Mary Lou to make it quick, Charles decided to beat her to death using the shotgun. So he didn't have any mercy on any of them. I would say especially Mary Lou, who was just a baby. So after this, Charles then headed into the woods where a few hours passed before he committed suicide. Police reports indicated that the footprints they discovered showed that Charles was pacing up and down as if trying to work out what he was going to do next before finally taking his own life with the same shotgun he used to murder his family. And then Arthur, who was 16 at the time, was the only Lawson family member to survive, which is due to the fact that at the time of the massacre, he was running errands. You know, Charles basically sent him into the town to get more ammunition for their hunting trip or whatever. Charles, you know, I don't know, like, why Charles had sent Arthur, you know, for the ammunition before committing the horrifying crime, but why? Like, why did he ensure that Arthur was neither murdered nor there to witness the murders? And I was wondering about it when I was, you know, when I was reading about this case. I was just wondering about it, and is it like as simple? I was just kind of thinking that, oh, maybe it's as simple as Charles trying to avoid a possible, you know, obstacle. Yes, like Arthur was 16 years old, but this was 1929, and boys younger than Arthur, like Arthur, were already expected to man up and work. They were considered adults at one point, like in their early teens, and Arthur was also considered a grown-up man. I mean, he was hunting with his father, he was working with his father, and mind you, like, he was, from the picture, like, you can tell that Arthur was actually taller than Charles. So it's possible that, you know, had Charles not sent Arthur away, he would have had to fight him, and since Arthur would have likely wanted to stop his father from killing his mother and siblings, you know, this would be a power struggle. Who knows, like, Arthur is younger, like, was younger. He would have maybe overpowered Charles, and nothing of it, like, none of it would have happened. Okay, so what happened next is actually not truly known. Some reports indicate that Arthur returned home after completing his errands to find his family all deceased, while other reports suggest that visiting relatives found the murdered Lawson family members. Despite this discrepancy, all reports agreed that upon being found, the bodies were oddly laid out with their arms folded around their bodies and a pillow placed under each of their heads. The only exception to this was Carrie and Mabel, who were discovered in the barn with their arms folded over their bodies like the others. However, a rock instead of a pillow was placed under their heads, rather, you know, like, because I guess because nothing else was available in the barn. So why did Charles brutally murder each of his family members and then kind of lovingly, you know, ensure that each of their heads was resting on a pillow or a rock and their arms were like neatly folded and their bodies were like neatly positioned? The answer to this will likely never be known. But it's just this, you know, kind of harrowing detail about this murder, because like first you very, very brutally murder your whole family and then you just kind of position them. Some people say in a ritualistic way. I don't know, like some people were saying like, oh, maybe this was some kind of ritual. Maybe he was, I think this was kind of explored in the 28 Days Haunted, because you know, there is a theory that Charles was possessed and this was some part of a ritual. Perhaps he was pushed to do this by a demon that possessed him. I do not really believe in the supernatural, but you know, that's how it was explored in the show. Okay, so it didn't take long for the news to spread and for people to start gathering at the crime scene. But of course, you know, as usual, like people just walk in and out of the crime scene and without a care in the world for the evidence. A while passed until a single gunshot was heard. And that's like between the murders and when Charles was, you know, he committed suicide. Arthur and a police officer who was accompanying him investigated the area in which the gunshot was heard and discovered Charles's body along with a handwritten letter addressed to his parents. Analysis of the letters confirmed that the letters did not contain any form of explanation for the disturbing massacre of his own family. So it was just a suicide note, but he didn't really talk about anything about the murders. So he's just like, bye. Yeah. Now, let's blame it on Satan. I mean, yeah, that's one of the angles. I'm just saying, in that show, in the 28 Days Haunted, you know, there is a theory that Charles was having some behavioral issues and, you know, it was blamed on, you know, a demonic possession, possibly. Okay. So, on December 27th, 1929, the 7 deceased Lawson family members were all buried together at Germanton's Browder Cemetery. The funeral had a huge turnout, with relatives and friends mourning the loss of the Lawson family, as well as approximately 5,000 outsiders who were in attendance based on curiosity. So what drove Charles to conduct the most unthinkable crime were Charles's actions premeditated, considering the new clothes bought for his family before, like for the picture day, and the family portrait being taken at all. Despite many speculations, it is unknown why Charles performed the horrifying crime that he did on one Christmas morning. And then, upon being questioned, family members revealed that they believed that Charles's motive for the crime was due to a form of head trauma he had suffered only a few months before the massacre and committing suicide. They claimed that the head injury may have altered Charles's mental state. However, according to an autopsy conducted at Johns Hopkins Hospital, there were actually no abnormalities detected in his brain and his head, like nothing was wrong. This, non-surprisingly, opened the door for many, many more rumors and speculations regarding a potential motive that Charles might have had. Let me just read some of the messages. Silverjack, sounds more like this guy was just done with life and decided to take his family with him. But then why spare Arthur if he was, I mean, you know, to me it kind of seemed like, okay, he sent Arthur away because he knew that Arthur could have fought him and maybe stopped him from doing whatever it was, like committing the murder on his family and then killing himself. So that's one possibility. But like if he did want to kill the whole family and kill himself, like why spare his son? Or is it just like this kind of messed up thinking, like, oh, you know, I'm gonna kill the whole family, but I have to spare my son because my lineage, my bloodline. So I'm gonna just leave my son alive, but the rest of them have to go, which is messed up. Ducky Noodles says, I won't go into too much, but I do believe possession can happen, but this doesn't feel like possession. This feels like someone who snapped. It feels like someone who was very, very disturbed. Again, you know, like the demonic possession or like ghost possession was explored in the series, and it kind of like it does, obviously it is shocking, obviously it is, I'm not denying that there, you know, isn't at all a possibility that demonic possession is possible, because I'm more like, yeah, I'm a skeptic. I'm more agnostic, like, oh, you know, I don't really believe in it, but I do acknowledge that there is a possibility. Okay. So it was not until the book White Christmas, Bloody Christmas, written by M. Bruce Jones and Trudy J. Smith, was published in 1990, that a new, potentially reliable claim was produced. The research conducted for the book gathered information from several individuals that seemed to accurately cross-check with each other. Wait, let me just say... Oh, okay, Captain Weep just donated. Thank you so much. Loving your stream so far. Here is a little something to thank you for your hard work. Thank you so much. That's very generous. Thank you so much for your donation. And I'm glad that you're liking the stream and you're liking the content. Okay, so again, this book was released and there was a new revelation in the case. So the claim included that Charles and Marie had an incestuous, like an incest relationship with each other. So a romantic relationship. A relative of the family, Stella Lawson, claimed during an interview that she had overheard Fanny's sister-in-law and aunt, as well as her mother, talking at the Lawson's family funeral about how Fanny had confided in them about her suspicions of a relationship between Charles and Marie. So that is another plot twist, you know. Oh, was there something wrong? Was he afraid that, you know, his wife had discovered his relationship with his oldest daughter, and now maybe she was planning to reveal it? Maybe she was planning to divorce him, maybe, you know, something else. I don't know, like maybe she was planning to report him to the police, and maybe that's why he had murdered his whole family. So during an interview for the book, Hill Hampton, so another person related to or you know, somewhat involved with the Lawson family, revealed that despite knowing that the family was having some serious issues, he refused to get involved or breach confidentiality. The evidence to support this theory rose once again after the meaning of Our Tears, so another book written by Trudy J. Smith, was published in 2006. Within the book, one of Marie's closest friends, named Ella May, disclosed that not long before the massacre, Marie had told Ella that she was pregnant with Charles's child. And Ella stated that both Charles and Fanny knew about the pregnancy. So now we have a more solid base possibly for this killing. Like, okay, so Charles and Marie had a sexual relationship, and then Marie got pregnant and Fanny found out. So either at first Fanny was, maybe she was hiding it, you know, she agreed to kind of hide it from people, and perhaps, like, you know, let Marie have the child, and maybe they would just take care of it as their own, as if this was the child of Fanny and Charles. But maybe something changed. Maybe, you know, Fanny decided like, oh, okay, I'm actually not gonna do this. I'm not gonna let you, you know, like not gonna like keep up the lie. Maybe like she was planning to report it to the police, or you know, maybe Marie was planning to do something and Charles just snapped. Okay, so what is it? Okay, so what is interesting to note is that another person, Sam Hill, who was the Lawson's family neighbor, claimed that he believed Charles had forced himself upon Marie, which led her to become pregnant. Sam suggested that Charles had warned Marie that if she told anyone, quote, there would be some killing done, end quote. So the question is, could Charles's motive for killing his family have been that he did not want anyone to find out about the, you know, an incest relationship he and his daughter Marie were having? I mean, what do you guys think? Because I think this is like the most solid theory. I don't think the head injury could have been that. I think this is like the most solid theory out there. You know, compared to demonic possession and possible head trauma that altered Charles's personality somehow. Okay, let me just read some of the chats. Ducky noodles. My God, why? Yeah. I mean, I feel this. I do feel this. That's disgusting. Why am I not surprised about that? Yeah, you know, I mean, these things unfortunately happened. Definitely happened back in the day. Definitely happen now, which is still infuriating that this shit happens now. You know, the incest relationship that is often forced by the parent or the, you know, the grown up. Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, everyone's just like, yeah. John Smith said, oh, wow, so that's where they got the name of the song from the game OFF, the meaning of his tears. Possibly, because there's like at least 10 songs that were written based on this, you know, case. Okay, William said, even so, there's more than double the victims there should be if that's the case. Why the rest of his family except his eldest son? Yeah, I mean, there was definitely something wrong with Charles. Maybe he was desperate. You know, in a very stressful situation like this one, I guess for him, it would be like a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. And then he was panicking. And when you panic, you don't really think straight. Like you know, in some cases, like people don't really think straight. So, I mean, the same can be said about you know, Chris Watts, the Watts family murders. That's another case. And Chris Watts was like, he was just thinking, okay, I don't want to be married. I don't want to have a family. And you would say like, why don't you divorce? No. He thought, okay, I don't want to be a husband and a father anymore. I'm gonna murder all of them. So my wife, Shannon, my 2 toddler daughters, the baby that was on the way. You know, it's the same kind of logic, which is no logic at all. So I like reading this case, I kind of got the same vibe, the Chris Watts kind of vibe. Like, oh, this is that moment when the murderer just goes into panic mode, and this is like femicide. So they just think like, okay, I just need to eliminate all of them, and we're just gonna reset this whole thing. Except Chris Watts was an asshole, and he wasn't planning to kill himself because, you know, because he's an asshole, and he's a murderer, and he deserves everything that comes to him. Okay. William said, what was the rest of his marriage like? Did he suspect his wife of infidelity? There's no such report, honestly. Like, it was just a normal family from what I'm reading. Like, there was nothing else that indicated that he was jealous, like, for his wife. Like, he had any suspicions that his wife was, like, cheating on him or having maybe, like, one of his children being not his. There wasn't anything like that. So, yeah, nothing. If so, he may have justified his murders on his family, except the one he thought was closest to him and truly his kid. Yeah, I mean, that's true, but so far, from what I'm reading, like, there wasn't anything about that. So, yeah, that's the mystery. Like, Okay, Ducky Noodle said, oh, Arthur possibly being his only biological child makes sense for him sparing them. Yeah, I mean, if there was such a theory, which so far I don't think there is, or at least I didn't see this theory being as, you know, deeply explored. But yeah, it would make sense, you know, like, oh, if he had discovered that his wife, like all of his children were actually not his, and maybe only Arthur was his, and his wife was like, you know, unfaithful, and this triggered the response, like, okay, he's in a state of distress and he's betrayed, so he's like, okay, I'm gonna, you know, I have to murder all of them, I'm gonna spare Arthur. But then he was just kind of, he panicked too much and he was like, okay, now I have to, he couldn't handle it, so he also took his own life. I mean, that's possible. Completely, like, it's a possibility. I didn't see any reports that would explore this theory. Okay, and Ducky Noodle said, I uncomfortably am leaning towards the incest theory. It just clicks the most, especially when how often this possibility happened back then, and of course now. Wesley says, also, can I ask what I missed besides the family death? Well, I mean, you missed the murders. You missed the fact that Arthur, like Charles, the murderer, so the father, he sent away Arthur at the time to buy, like, run some errands. Jesus, I just, like, hit my microphone. Great. So he sent off one of his sons, the eldest son, to run some errands, and that's how Arthur survived. Then he murdered his whole family, like shot them or beat them to death with the shotgun, and positioned the bodies in a very weird, very neat and deliberate way. So, like, with arms folded neatly, and all of them had a pillow under their head or a rock. So he would just prop up their heads, you know, with a pillow or a rock, which is weird because he murdered them in such a brutal way, and then he killed himself. That's essentially it. But yeah, he, you know, like, there is, I think the most possible theory from what has been explored is that the fact that he did have a possible relationship with Marie and that she was pregnant. Okay, so the Lawson family murders gained a lot of media attention, and as a result, the Lawson family house attracted lots of tourists. And this next part, I don't understand why, but due to the increased tourists visiting the area, the cake that Marie was baking on the day of the massacre was presented and placed on display under glass as a souvenir. Why? I don't know. Why would you do this? Also, it's a cake. It's gonna go bad, very bad, and be disgusting. So, bad, moldy, and, you know, ew. So why would, I never understand, like, why would someone do this? I never understand why people, for example, like, I get fascination with true crime because obviously, like, I'm fascinated with true crime mostly for like educational purposes, because I see the point of talking about the cases and learning from them, like how to keep yourself safe, or, you know, like learning from these situations. But I don't understand someone who would, I don't know, collect memorabilia from like killings and murders, or would do something like, oh, you know, put the cake on display that the girl who was murdered was baking that day. Like, why? This is, for one, it might be evidence. For two, it's just like, makes no sense. It's just very insensitive. So like, don't do this. There's no need. Also, I don't know, the house being like a, you know, tourist attraction, I just don't see it. But that's just me. Okay, so the massacre had an obvious impact on history, and as a result was the subject of many songs, 2 books, and a film. I guess there was, yeah, like I saw some screenshots from the film. It's like an old movie, but yeah, a movie was made based on this case. As for Arthur, despite all the trauma and grief he had experienced in his adolescent years, he went on to live a relatively normal life. Arthur was married and had 4 children, but unfortunately he suddenly died in a motor accident in 1945 at only at the age of only 31. So he was very young, and he also passed away. Despite intensive research and analysis, what drove Charles to commit the horrifying crime that he did, it will never truly be concluded, and many other questions will never be answered. So you guys, why do you guys think Charles did it? Was it the incest relationship with Marie, or do you think this other theory was not explored? Do you think okay, maybe the wife, maybe Fanny, was somehow unfaithful and it was a completely different story and it just wasn't explored? I mean, honestly, I'm between the two. So because we have some rumors about Charles and Marie being involved with each other, I think this is the most likely scenario. He just panicked and it was just a whole mess, and he decided on a very drastic measure. But I wouldn't discredit this theory that Fanny may have been unfaithful and all of the children except for Arthur were not Charles's, and that would explain why he spared Arthur, basically. Okay, let me just read some comments. Wesley Kim said, some sort of weird trophy from the scene. Oh yeah, that was regarding what I said about the memorabilia or the souvenirs, trophies from the scene, which is weird. Yusuf said, if they sterilized the container and added some preservatives, they could potentially prolong the cake's life. Yeah, but not forever, unless you just recreate it as a, I have no idea, as a, the fake cake. Okay, Ducky Noodle said they could have just made a replica. Okay, yeah, the replica from photos, but it just seems no, it was in the reports, it just says oh no, the cake that she was making was preserved and it was displayed as a souvenir, which I'm why? Why? I don't understand. And Ritsu, hello, thank you so much for tuning in. Hey, and thanks for the greeting, by the way. Yeah, but thank you so much for tuning in, Ritsu. You guys check out Ritsu's channel. Okay, that's young. Yeah, Arthur unfortunately died at 31. I guess it was somehow some people say, oh, it was the fate of this family. Even Arthur did not escape death, so it was kind of Final Destination. Okay, he escaped death that day, so he wasn't murdered by his father, but he still died very young. The family picture scares me a bit. Yeah, okay, to be fair, the photographs back then, it was 1920s. Or 1930s almost. It wasn't the best. Arthur's eyes kind of look creepy, but it was just it took one photograph to kind of make it. You would have to wait a lot also to to get this photograph. So it's not oh, they could have taken a lot of photographs. Also, it was expensive, so it's not they could have taken a lot of those photos and just choose from the best one. No, it was just one chance, and then you waited for a shit ton of time, weeks probably, and yeah, then you get this, and unfortunately, this is what you get. So a lot of pictures were just creepy. Poor Arthur couldn't catch a break. No, again, some people believe that was a curse. It was fate of this family that all of them had to die. Then again, what was the expected lifespan during this time? 1930s. Yeah, probably. Definitely younger than the life expectancy of people now, but I wouldn't say it was 31, it's still pretty young. So I wouldn't say it was 31. Charles was 47 or something. Yeah, cars. Okay, William said, a third idea just came to my head. What was his financial situation like? Not very good. It was a working class family. John List murdered his family because he couldn't support their lifestyle. Could the motive be the same here? I don't think so, because it says in the sources, it says specifically that, oh, they were farmers, they were tobacco farmers. They did make some money, but the situation, financial situation, wasn't that great. But it didn't seem like the whole family was living a lavish lifestyle. No, they were actually living very humbly. So it wasn't like, oh, there was a sudden change in their like lifestyle. I don't know, like wait, Eduardo just donated. Thank you so much. What are your views on possession and possession case? Well, I mean, as I said like earlier in this stream, I don't really believe in demonic possessions because I don't believe in ghosts. Like generally speaking, but that's because I haven't really seen a very like hard evidence. That's why I always say like, oh, I'm more agnostic or skeptical, but I acknowledge that there is a possibility. I just have never seen a legitimate evidence. Like it's usually like photographs or videos, and I'm just like, yeah, it looks weird, but it could have been altered. This could have been a setup. So there's never, you know, and nowadays, even if someone posts a video of like ghost hunting or some kind of ghost presence or event, you know, like you see those videos on YouTube, but I'm just like, well, nowadays there's CGI, there's like video editing, advanced video editing, that you can make anything look real. So I would have to experience it on my own. Like I would have to experience, you know, seeing a ghost or like a ghost event myself to believe. So until then, I don't believe in ghosts. I missed the whole thing, too bad. I guess I could just listen to the VODs later. Yeah, Johnson, wait, Josem, I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name, I'm sorry. Josem Pepita. No worries, yeah, the video is gonna be here. You can always listen to the case. Okay, Nicholas Smith says, yeah, I'll have to rewatch later. Yeah, no worries. I mean, the video is not going anywhere, so you guys can tune in and rewatch the video. Possession stories are fun to listen to, but that's as far as I view ghost stories. Yeah, like as I said, like I would have to experience it. I'm the kind of person that I would have to experience it on my own to believe that something supernatural is happening, you know, like, or supernatural exists. So far, no, never had an experience. I did have some weird experiences in my life, but I wouldn't say this was, you know, a ghost or a supernatural event. Crazy people are scarier than ghosts anyway. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think I fear people more than ghosts that may not exist. Jamie says, could he have done it for insurance on his family if there was any? No information on any insurance policy. But then why did he kill himself? Because he also took his own life, and it seems like, okay, he was panicking after the murders, but then he decided to take his own life. So there wasn't, you know, any insurance policy, unless he was planning to, you know, give it to Arthur. Like, unless this was a plan to leave Arthur with the insurance policy, but then there's just no such information, so it just doesn't seem that this was the case. That's why you use film while ghost hunting, because that is very hard to fake. Yeah, that's true, but, you know, as I said, then again, like, you see all those videos on YouTube, or, like, the photographs, supposed photographs, and you never know, like, they would say, like, oh, this was actually a, you know, film photograph, not a digital picture. But then you never know, because nowadays you can alter everything. So you might as well just show the picture, but be like, oh yeah, this is not, you know, this was not a digital photograph. So you can say whatever you want. I already said it once, but after listening to the incest theory and Marie possibly being forced upon, she really does look uncomfortable and stiff in the picture. Perhaps that's why it feels creepy. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, all of them look pretty uncomfortable. Even like the kids. Well, I mean, then again, like the pictures weren't the best, so but yeah, she does look kind of uncomfortable next to her father, so I don't know, that's a possibility. Like, to me, that's the most likely scenario, that she was being abused and the family knew about it, the wife knew about it. Maybe the wife protested at one point when Marie got pregnant, and she was just like, okay, enough is enough. We have to tell, like, I'm gonna tell people, I'm gonna tell the police because you're doing something wrong. And then Charles panicked and decided to murder his whole family. Like, that's, you know, I mean, that's a possibility. That is, you know, if there were some issues in the family, it would be very similar to what happened with Chris Watts and Shannon Watts. Wesley Kim says, was there any record of the father having any sort of mental or psychological issue he was struggling with? No, not to my knowledge. It was just that one part where he allegedly did suffer a head trauma a while ago. So, you know, that's maybe it connects. Maybe it's both theories. Like both of those stories actually did happen and are true. Like, oh, after the head trauma, maybe it did alter his personality. Maybe it was like just had an effect on him. So far, I don't see anything else about his mental health aside from like, oh, strangely, before the murders, he kind of changed his behavior. Like he started behaving in a weird way that, you know, kind of raised suspicions. Like why is he suddenly pressing for this family photo? Why is he suddenly behaving that way? So that's the only thing that I know. Kronos says, the background with the head injury and sudden change in behavior. Yeah, that's exactly what I just said. It reminds me of actor Johnny Lewis, who died in 2012 after a murder-suicide. Oh yeah, I think I remember this case. He too sustained head injuries in a motorcycle accident in the 12 months preceding the tragedy, and had been displaying unstable aggressive behaviors in the lead-up. Yeah, so that's, you know, that's exactly what I said. I do remember this case, now that I think about it. Yeah, like I think I read about this case. But yeah, you know, as I said, like maybe it just connects, like both connect. So he did have a relationship with Marie, and he was abusing her, but then he had this, you know, head injury. Maybe that kind of affected him as well. So suddenly he became like more paranoid. Suddenly he planned this whole thing, and he was just like, okay, this is the only way. I mean, possibility. Another theory could be is that his wife looked the other way about Marie being sexually abused, but came to her senses. Another reason why he murdered everyone. He knew his and the farm's reputation would be ruined. Very, very possible. I mean, you know, this is one of the relatives did talk about it. They said like, oh, Fanny actually knew about everything. So, you know, I did mention it a couple of times during the stream, but yeah, maybe she was turning a blind eye to a point. Like after one point, maybe she decided, okay, this cannot go on. This is over, you know, like we have to do something about it. And then Charles panicked because it's like, oh, you know, I mean, reputation, that was like 1920s, so reputation of the family, like it was just kind of appearances, right? Like, oh, you had to play a happy family. Like if you had some issues, suddenly you were basically the talk of the town, and people were judging you, and people were like gossiping and having all sorts of opinions, which nowadays, like, okay, it doesn't matter because, you know, what business do you have with someone's family, right? Like, oh, even if, you know, someone, like, even if you gossip like this, it's usually like normal, like that families go to family therapy, like that's nothing unheard of. But back then it was just kind of a taboo to have issues in a family. Like the families had to be model families. Okay, Kronos says there was another case from New York, either a few years before or after this, where a man killed his entire family a month or so after being injured at work. I think there was another case of an NFL player, I believe. And he also, I'm not sure if he just, no, I'm pretty sure he also like went after a head injury, a very serious head injury, like he started behaving completely different. I think it might have been like last year or 2 years ago. But he did shoot someone, and then he pretty much took his own life too. And there was like speculation that, oh, it was the head injury caused by him playing in the NFL that caused his, you know, like this change in behavior and his decision to go on a shooting spree. CTE. I don't know if that's what it's called. Is it called CTE? He had complained to multiple doctors of headaches, and his family that lived in the apartment above them reported he had started to act oddly. Kronos, is it that case? Because I'm pretty sure there was like a one case with either NFL player, or was it a baseball player? No, I don't think it was a baseball player. I think it was like an NFL player, and he, yeah, like this was the case. Might have been CTE. Can make a person, KB says CTE can make a person with paranoid and angry, prone to violence, with paranoia and anger issues, prone to violence and so forth. Yeah, I think it's that. I think it might be, yeah, you might be onto something, because I'm pretty sure there was like a couple of cases, especially like in the NFL, where, you know, there were head injuries and it happened before, like, oh, they had this kind of change, 180-degree change in behavior, and they suddenly like started behaving, like displaying some signs of paranoia and like aggression. So I don't know. It was an NFL player. Okay. So yeah, I was right. Like I think I read about it just like recently or something. And it was this case, or when it happened. I think it happened in 2022 or 2021. I heard of this just today. I remember hearing Charles' brother turning the house into a horror attraction. Yep, there was. Yeah, I said it, like, oh, the house was like basically a tourist spot at one point, and the cake was like on display, everything was on display, which, like, why would you do this? Especially like right after the murders. Not even like wait a couple of decades to or something. Like now, okay, nowadays, like, oh yeah, it's still not great. I still wouldn't go there, like, you know, all those houses where a murder happened. I still wouldn't visit those places. I'm not into that. But yeah, you know, it's kind of weird to do that, especially to your family. He did himself into 7 dead, 2021. Okay, so it was Philip Adams, ex-NFL player who killed 6 people. Yeah. Okay, so Philip Adams. Yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy. I think, yeah, I think it was NFL player concussion. He did himself into because tourists. But yeah, that's the guy. I think that's the player that I'm thinking about, because it was very recent. But okay, you guys, that's CTE is chronic traumatic encephalopathy. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce it. But yeah, but that's the condition. I'm sorry. Yeah, like sunny rainy day. Thank you so much for posting it. CTE made this lesser known NFL player in 2015 to basically have a mind of a child. It is a very, very serious condition, like, and it's very common in NFL players. Like, it's recognized, at one point, like, it was recognized that, you know, NFL, like, well, not NFL, the football can, you know, causes these very traumatic injuries. And wasn't there like because like up until a certain point, there were I guess no regulations on was it like helmets or something, like the structure of the helmet. So like nowadays it's more secure, but it was kind of not recognized as you know, caused by playing football. But yeah, at one point they recognized that CTE is caused by football, well, I mean, not football per se, but just like, oh, the injuries during the game, sustained during the game. Real shame I missed a majority of the stream, it seems, because I saw this on History Channel and it would have been fun to see you go over the full thing. Well, the video is gonna be here, so you can listen to the case. Wasn't there a huge scandal where the NFL got into a bunch of heat because they were basically neglecting their players' health? Yeah, Wesley, I think that's what I'm talking about. Like, you know, previously they were just kind of disregarding it, and they were refusing to connect CTE to the players being on the field and like sustaining injuries, head injuries on the field. But then eventually, like, the regulations changed, so finally, like, the brain damage, like, they recognize it, that, oh, it can be caused by the injuries on the field. Okay. John Smith says have to go, but this one was a doozy. Thanks for the stream. No worries. This stream actually is coming to an end, so you guys, thank you so much for watching. We've got a couple of streams coming up this week, including my re-debut with my third 3.0 design, so I'm looking forward to that. We have new alerts coming, we have new overlays coming, we have a lot of stuff. We have 2 models coming, so with a secret outfit that you guys have seen, some of you guys have seen during my Donathon stream. So yeah, I'm very excited, and there's some surprises that I'm preparing for this debut stream. So you guys can look forward to that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you do like my content, take a second to click that like button, subscribe if you haven't yet, and click that notification button to be notified whenever I show up in my corner, little dark corner of the internet, with a new case, with a new stream, with a new game that I'm gonna fail at and die in. But you guys, thank you so much, and stay safe out there. Always lock your doors and windows, bury your hexes. Until the next time. Bye.